Like you know, it's political season. That's a lot of politics in the air. In a couple of weeks, we'll be finding out who the candidates for the APC and, well, the APC, I think we pretty much know who the presidential candidate will be. But for the PDP, their primaries are on the 6th of October. A lot of the states are also going to be having their primaries for the governorship candidates. So there's a lot of election talk in the air, and this is going to continue probably until February and even May in 2019, when the next government will be sworn in. But there's a lot of people who are going to be voting for the first time, and it's always an interesting demographic there, finding out what their thoughts are about the process and what their expectations are. And I have it with me, two of them. Nefisa Atiku, a youth advocate, will be here today.
Thank you.
And of course, Muyo Babarindi. Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Let me start with you now, Nefisa. What was your experience like, first of all, with getting your PVC, your TVC, I think TVC before the PVC?
Yes, the TVC.
What was the process like for you?
Well, to be honest, I first got my TVC in Enugu when I was still studying law, University of Nigeria. It was it was traumatic, to be honest. I tried to get my TVC for about a week. Basically, on the last day, I was there I had to skip classes from morning to night. Was there from about 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The sun, it was horrible.
When was this? Last year or this?
No, that was around 2013, 2014. Okay. And then how I eventually got my TVC was by volunteering to help out the INEC officials that day. So I basically stood and I was holding up the background for them to take pictures. And then I now insisted that I get my TVC.
Your own pictures.
And then I had there was an INEC official there that was trying to do some very funny hanky-panky stuff, trying to get my number and all that, but it wasn't the easiest thing. Then going back to go and get my PVC, they told me it wasn't ready. And so that's why I couldn't actually vote in the last election. Yeah. But then coming down to this election, because I have to do a transfer, I spent about 3 days
doing the transfer?
Yes, at Ogudu, to be honest, because I don't understand. People actually start writing their names from 1 a.m. So you
get in the morning and there's already a list of 100 and something people.
No, not 100. You have about 700.
Wow.
So I had to do that for about 3 days. On the third day, I was able to successfully do the transfer, and then just waiting for my PVC in December so I can actually vote for the first time.
Okay. What about you? What's your story?
For me as well, I mean, the process was very, very challenging, like for most people. Trying to get into the polling, the registration places where you could actually get to, and then you put in your name and all that. It was very stressful for me. I had to take a couple of days off work to be able to actually get that done. But there was quite a lot of logistical, issues with that process. In 2014, I couldn't vote because I was actually serving at that moment, and was part of the officers working for INEC.
Okay.
One of the things that struck me was the fact that there was quite a lot of enthusiasm amongst the people. I saw a lot of old people that were there at the polling units.
Where was this? What state was this?
That was in Lagos,
okay.
Koshofe local government area. However, I think the seeds of the unpreparedness of INEC in some part was sown in my own heart because of what I noticed as an INEC official during the election. We got to our polling unit area around 3 a.m. the day before the election, and we actually didn't have anywhere to sleep. So we had to sleep, with your arms folded across your leg, and then by 7 a.m. that wake everybody out, and we were all packed into about 50 INEC corporate members who were packed into one bus. So it was really hectic, but then people wanted to pass a message to the government. They wanted to pass a message about the fact that they're going to protect their votes. So it was quite an interesting experience for me as well to see that people are more interested than ever before, to make their votes count as well.
Do you see that same enthusiasm today? I mean, I know there was a lot of, like he said, 2014 was a time when everybody seemed like they really wanted to be to participate in this. I know there's more people who have registered this year. This is the highest number of voters or registered voters we've had in the history of Nigeria. But do you still feel that there's that same sort of passion by people who want to vote?
Yes, in fact, I am so happy. I keep on saying to people, because basically this is a space that I work in, youth inclusion, political participation, inclusive governance. I am so happy. If there's anything this government has done so far, is increase the awareness of young people to governance and politics. Because the thing is that if you do not see this country as your responsibility, the truth is that people shouldn't be asking, why are you not why are you not voting? The question is, why shouldn't you vote? Why are you not out there getting your PVC? Because that is the ticket to your future, and you have to protect it. We have a lot of new initiatives coming up, like obviously that Not Young to Run, and then the Ready to Run platform, New Voices Nigeria. A lot of young people waking up and taking their responsibilities seriously.
Yeah.
It's a lot of civic awareness, and it's like when I was at the Ogudu local government, if there's one thing I noticed a lot of young people, a whole lot of young people, a whole lot of them. I mean, not for anything. We need to realize, in politicians, political parties, even ourselves, need to realize that this election is probably going to be determined by a lot of young people.
Yeah. But in spite of all she said, which you are actually agreeing with, there's still a lot of people who don't believe in the system. There's a lot of people, even not as young as you are, people who are probably been eligible to vote for the last 10, 15 years, who just believe, I'm just going to take a holiday on the day of elections. I don't know, when you come across people like this, what do they say to you? I'm sure some of them probably even your friends.
Yes, absolutely.
What
so the thing about it is that you don't, my own perspective about that matter is the fact that the system is broken in many ways in the country. Not just the electoral, process alone. We're talking about other areas. So people don't have faith in the government to deliver on its promise to the people. Now, what I tell those kind of people is that we have either a choice. You either take a stand or you don't. If you don't take a stand, nothing is going to change. So what we have to do is to use the power that we have, what has been given to us, to be able to drive that change in our own communities. Now, when she talked about the fact that people are quite enthusiastic about, this election, 2014 was the first time an incumbent president would lose an election in the country. Yes. That was a milestone for our democracy in the country. Now, if, for example, the public and the electorate decide that the current presidency is not doing well enough as well, and they have voted out, that would mean the second time somebody will vote out. So we're passing a message across to people. It's not immediately that we're going to get the fruits of all this, participation in the electoral process. It might take a while for us to get the right kind of leaders, because let's even talk about the kind of quality of leaders that we're getting in some of the elections that are currently ongoing in the country as well. But it's an ongoing process. We have to send a message to them to say, if you are not able to deliver your promise, if you're not about to get the right people in government to be able to place the nation on the right path, we're going to vote you out. And there's nothing you can do about that. Now, the power is with the people. It's with the young people. Now, for people who are quite, not enthusiastic about that, now they have an opinion, and that's based on past experiences. What we just have to do as a communications professional, which that's my work, is to help them see reasons why they have to participate. You can't just sit on the line. By 2050, Nigeria is going to be the third largest nation in the world. We have to start preparing the millions of people that will join the labor force for that future. And that's not being done at the moment. There's no strategy for job creation from the federal government. There's no strategy for primary health care in the country. Well, how are we going to get all this done? These are the questions that are not being asked. And also importantly, I think it's important for us to also ask the right questions from our leaders as we prepare for 2019. What is your plan? Now, I come from Osun State, so you heard about what has happened at the election, And I was listening to the debate last week, and I couldn't see anything cohesive or coherent from this candidate. I'm like, are you guys seriously kidding me? What's your plan? The state is in debt at the moment. What's your plan to ensure that you take the state out of debt, to generate more internal generated revenue from 1.5 billion naira and get wealth for people, But that wasn't it. All they could say was, oh, things are bad, we're going to change it. Ow!
Just give me some reaction. Just give me some reaction.
You see things like that, you hear from candidates, and you never really get anything concrete sometimes. Isn't that one of the reasons why a lot of people don't even bother voting? Because they're like, okay, they look at the pool of candidates, they're like, nobody here really interests me, so why do I bother?
Well, basically, I had this issue when I was in youth service. Actually, I was selected for a boot camp by Red Media and the Ford Foundation, and we underwent a 1 week intensive training boot camp, basically grassroots civic engagement. And I saw something, there was a problem, and it's called a lack of political education. We're able to teach children science and math, very archaic methods, but we can't teach our children civic engagement, political education. These are the factors on which you must vote your people in. You don't vote someone because the person is from your state or from your country, or the person is Christian or a Muslim or a Babalawo or whatever. Those are not the factors that make up a president. So apart from having political education, there needs to be some accountability. It's not enough to vote and say, okay, I've done my duty. It's an intensive, long-term process. Yeah. So it was a really interesting journey because during NYC, so I basically went from school to school. I founded an initiative called NU Speaks. Basically went from school to school teaching SS3 students, those that will be old enough by this time to vote. And it was interesting because you teach them about tribalism and then the stories you hear about from them, about how they are treated, and it's amazing in this country. They don't understand leadership. Corruption seems normal to them. Meanwhile, you have to tell them corruption isn't normal. Yes, it might be part of our culture right now, but it is not normal. Because it exists doesn't mean it is normal. And these are things we need to start teaching them political education so that when they get there, they see their vote, they see their PVC not as something that you can use as a means of identification. No, it's just a side benefit. It's to ensure your living standard for the next... Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of voters, a lot of people who voted over the years, most of them, like she said, have sort of their preset sort of conceptions of how they want their candidates. Oh, he's my uncle, I'm going to vote for him, or he's my cousin, or he's from my village, like she said, or his wife is fine. People have whatever criteria they have. Yeah. But for a first-time voter now, still going back to what you said now, I've never voted in my life, and I'm trying to make a decision, and nobody seems excited. Is it a good thing to settle for like the lesser evil? Because people say, I'd rather not vote anyone at all because they're two evils. Yeah. Maybe one might be a lesser evil, but should I just go for the lesser evil or just stay away?
I mean, it doesn't make sense absolutely to stay away because you're not part of the process. But then I think my own advice would be, you still have to go for the lesser evil. In the past, even talking about the presidential elections in the country, there were times when there were no ideal candidates, but we were like, this person has to go because you had a job and you failed at it. You have to go. The lesser evil that is coming around, we're going to take our chances. If this person doesn't do well as well, you're going to leave in 4 years. All right. So for example, I don't care if you are Muslim or if you're Christian or if you're a traditionalist or you're from the north or from the south. Can you do the job? Yeah. Can you get the job done? There has to be a metrics-driven approach to governance in Nigeria. So if you're given a tax or if you win a position in politics, there has to be some KPIs that would give to you. But it seems like people go into government and then they know that, oh, I'm not going to be held accountable. No matter if I perform badly, for 8 years I can come back and then share money some days before the election and still get re-elected again. That shouldn't be the case. So I don't care if whatever tribe you are or where you're from in the country, if you can get your job done, you're all right by me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You agree?
Yes.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, but basically, like I said, political education is very important. I understand the power of there's emotional marketing, like a candidate like Barack Obama. He's yes, we can, but to be honest, I'm very pragmatic when it comes to politics. I'm going to look at your track record. I'm going to look at what you've done. I'm going to look at what you're capable of doing. I don't care where you're from. I don't care who you are, but can you get the job done? And the only way we can analyze you properly is basically looking back at your past records. I'm not interested, because sometimes that's even part of the problem with the whole political environment in itself. Because there's something that Nigerians and young people especially don't understand. I tell people that look at it, it's like entrepreneurship. Basically, it's just like almost like capitalism. The political parties and the political candidates cannot tell you what is good for you. You're supposed to be the one telling them what we want. We want a credible leader. We want someone who has integrity. We want someone who has capacity. We want someone who can be responsible. And they will have to attune whoever they are producing in their parties to service what we are demanding for, and then we'll vote. They shouldn't be able to define the political landscape by tribalism, and they are basically playing on a lot of nonsense criteria for producing candidates. It's not supposed to be. We're supposed to put out our demand, and you're supposed to supply us the candidates.
How realistic is this, though, for like say 2019? This is like a very long-term fight.
It's a long-term fight. So I believe we're running a marathon. We might not get all the results we want in the next 100 meters, in the next 200 meters, but then we're on the process. Now, when she mentioned the fact that, we have to look at the track record of candidates, it even comes to the fact that these parties have to have an ideology. So what are you focused on? What are the key areas of the economy that you guys are creating, that you have competency in, and you're trying to drive change from that basis. But at the moment, with the recent happenings in the political scene over the last 6 months, we see that these people are the same. The cross-carpeting from each political party to suit their own individual needs and individual ambition. So it might not change now, but this is something that everybody has to have in mind, and we have to keep holding them accountable and asking for the right people.
Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very
Good luck
much.
with,
Thank you.
with your elections.
Thank
with
you.
voting in 2019. Hopefully we all do the right thing and vote.
Yeah.